At the beginning of the 2023 season, Red Bull was way ahead of the other teams. What's even more crazy is how several F1 analysts continuously tried to find the reason behind such a margin. Some of them had their guesses, but the truth became evident at the Hungarian Grand Prix after Hamilton made a shocking revelation. The revelation shook the grid, turning the tide for the Red Bull team. What did Hamilton reveal, and why did he make such an accusation? Let's dive right in. At the Hungarian Grand Prix, Hamilton surprisingly earned the pole position ahead of Max Verstappen. Although it was by the slightest margin, we are talking about 0.03 of a second, which is about 1/100th of the time it takes for a human to blink. This means their lap time was so identical that if the stopwatch wasn't reading the time, it could have been easily missed. Despite the extremely close margin, it was really surprising for a few reasons. One, usually Verstappen always took the pole position by being ahead by at least a few tenths of a second. And the other reason was that they just introduced a few upgrades during the race. So what happened? Did the upgrades disrupt the former setup, or did Mercedes finally get things right? The answer came in from the Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton. After the Hungarian Grand Prix, Hamilton told those who cared to listen what he thought about Red Bull's shift in performance level. He said it was because they lost the DRS advantage they initially had at the beginning of the season. Obviously, I think they slowed down quite a bit from the beginning of the year. I mean, just look at the DRS. They don't have the DRS advantage all of a sudden that they used to have. Where did that go? They just had an upgrade, so you'd expect them to take another step. We heard it was around 0.2 or something like that. For them to not be able to extract that in qualifying is interesting. From the British race driver's statement, we could hear him accusing the Red Bull team cheat in not so exact words. He's also asking if FIA had changed something on the RB19 without making it known to the public. This makes you wonder if the DRS advantage the team had at the beginning of the season was due to some illegal setups that the FIA didn't initially notice, and maybe after figuring it out, they immediately had it stopped. At the beginning of the season, RB19s completely stood out due to its massive straight-line speed advantage when DRS was open. Although Max Verstappen didn't need it much except for times when he had issues at qualifying, such as the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. But the DRS advantage played a huge role in earning pole position at almost every qualifying round. Taking a quick look at Verstappen's speed trap's performance at the Hungarian Grand Prix, it's clear that something was amiss. Initially, Verstappen was driving at 260.9 km/h across the start-finish line, but it increased to 304.8 km/h by the time he hit the speed trap before the Turn 1 braking zone. This was quite similar to Hamilton, who was 260.3 km/h across the start-finishing line, but also hit 304.9 km/h at the speed trap. Some might want to attribute this to lack of advantage to the short start-finish straight, but it has nothing to do with it. This is because it was the same pattern that was used in Australia, and Verstappen was 311.2 km/h across the start-finishing line and 328.8 km/h at the first Turn 1 speed trap. That same race, Hamilton was 307.8 across the start-finishing line and 324.3 km/h at the speed trap. Since Mercedes was way slower than Red Bull despite the short start-finish straight, it's clear proof that it wasn't due to that. So what exactly happened? Max Verstappen has blamed the poor performance on a poor setup, but the reality is that Hamilton might be right, and we wouldn't get the full details unless FIA or Red Bull reveals an official statement, or there's a leak from the organization, because it wouldn't be the first time the FIA would try to keep certain things quiet. The most intriguing thing is that the last time something like this happened, Red Bull was the one pointing fingers, so it could be that karma has come to show its ugly face to them. In 2019, Verstappen accused Ferrari of cheating, and this made the FIA open a technical investigation into the team's power unit. Lo and behold, the Scuderia team were actually overfueling their car to produce more power. But because it was the Ferrari team, everything was kept hush-hush. A secret agreement took place between the team and the FIA. There were no penalties or punishments for the team. The only proof that something went wrong was due to the team's performance the next year. In 2020, Ferrari and their customer teams were so far behind, it was clear the enhanced powertrains were the reason they were performing well in the previous season. But the team denied it outrightly. However, the FIA later revealed a statement regarding the issue. The FIA announces that after thorough technical investigations, it has concluded its analysis of the operation of the Scuderia Ferrari Formula 1 power unit and reached a settlement with the team. The specifics of the agreement will remain between the parties. The FIA and Scuderia Ferrari have agreed to a number of technical commitments that will improve the monitoring of all Formula 1 power units for forthcoming championship seasons, as well as assist the FIA in other regulatory duties in Formula 1 and in its research activities on carbon emissions and sustainable fuels. Despite them not being punished, Verstappen must have been quite pleased with the slower pace of Ferrari's car. Now it seems the tables have turned, only this time Hamilton is on the other side of the table. When Ted Kravitz, a prominent F1 reporter, was asked his views, he said he wasn't entirely sure, but there was a possibility. I'm not sure that's ultimately true, but Lewis certainly wants to put that out there and get the media to investigate that. Hamilton must have remembered what happened between Ferrari and Verstappen that year and decided to see if it would yield similar results. There is a possibility that the FIA actually noticed a DRS advantage and decided to quietly have them rectify it. Because the Red Bull team has been at the center of several controversies lately, from the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix to the cost cap issues, it wouldn't be nice for them to be publicly accused of cheating again. The FIA also doesn't need that kind of reputation now that the Formula 1 is gaining more popularity. But one interesting thing to know is that despite losing the pole position, Verstappen still won the actual race, and it brought the question if Hamilton's claims were just baseless. And according to some rival engineers who keep a close watch on car developments, the so-called DRS advantage was due to cast setup choices at different downforce levels. For Red Bull, it's believed that the speed boost it gets from the DRS is majorly due to the fact that the RB19 has a huge amount of total drag coming from its rear wing, unlike others. So when the wing is opened, it gives more benefit as it loses more air resistance. Now, don't take it wrongly. No one is saying the rear wing is creating more drag than other cars. It's just that other cars are not really tapping into the potential of proper use of the rear wing, has thereby making them have less drag than the Red Bull car. Red Bull is very comfortable using a very large profile rear wing, but what really gets them flying ahead of others is the much smaller beam wing. Other teams who double up the beam tend to have less drag levels but more downforce. Although the DRS advantage was explained and it doesn't look shady, the only problem is that a totally different pattern was noticed at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and it could have been due to the setup after the upgrades were introduced, just like Verstappen suggested. The truth would come to light soon enough because the next race, which is at Spa, should show Red Bull's DRS advantage, and if it doesn't, it would indicate that Hamilton might be right to be suspicious. If the FIA had not looked into Red Bull's DRS advantage before, they'd be looking into it now due to Hamilton's claims. However way it goes, Red Bull is still leading both the Drivers' Championship and Constructors' title, so clearly the lack of DRS advantage might not affect them much. With all that has been discussed, do you think Red Bull is cheating? Kindly let us know in the comment section. I'll see you all soon in the next video.